Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Healing Journey. This is Christelle Achia. So today we're looking at some of the main differences between traditional medicine and modern medicine or Western medicine. Before we go deep in the subject, I just would like to share with you like a bit of my background. So from which place I'm talking. Basically, I've studied Western or modern medicine in France, and I'm still studying it, but not in the conventional way. So, meaning not like in a hospital and so on. But I did also had some internships in hospital in different services. So I also know like the theory, but I also went to the hospital and learned some basics. And so I know also what's going on like as a medical student in hospital, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to learn, how you're supposed to talk to patients and with your colleagues and so on. And I've also been trained, and I'm still training as indigenous or ancestral medicine practitioners, or some also use the term traditional or ancient medicine. Well, all of that goes together. So just to share with you that I also have like this background, and I'm also sharing what I'm going to say from a place of experience. So it's based on also experience and observations, of course. One of the main thing that is often, I would say, misunderstood or maybe not well grasped is like us as humanity, we have always thought for healing, for treating diseases across spaces, so all over the globe and across time. Even when we go really far back in time, archaeologists have found like traces on the human remains of treatments like trepanations or other kind of medical practices. So it's across time. And we also like those practices that we can call indigenous or ancient medicine. So have been practiced by all of us as human, and they are also rooted in different things that we can also find in modern medicine. One of the main differences is that we use different modalities and I would say tools. But even in ancient medicine or indigenous medicine, there are still like research, learning and teaching. Well, they're going together, right? You learn from teachers and then you are also able to teach. Then you also have the principle of trainings like internships, apprenticeship, or trainings, mentoring. I mean, you can call it as you want, but this principle of learning with your peers and practicing or learning from a mentor is also existing. You also have practices based on evidence-based results as well, and learning from theory and learning from practice as well. One of the main differences is that in indigenous medicine, we follow what is called now as local and indigenous knowledge systems. And I would say not in opposition, but maybe in parallel to it, in modern or Western medicine, there are other philosophical approaches. One of the main that I think it's important to know is the very famous Je pense donc je suis. I think, therefore I am, from Descartes. So he was a French philosopher born in the end of the 16th century and lived also in the 17th century. And he has influenced like a lot what is now known as modern sciences in general for sciences. He is considered as one of the main founder of modern Western philosophy, and as I say, he's influenced a lot sciences because he was also a mathematician. And also what is considered as the modern times of Europe way of thinking, I would say. And this is a main difference, considering that the modern medicine, like the modern Western medicine, has mainly been influenced by this philosophical approach, where thinking processes are like put on a like forward on a pedestal, I would say. And this is a main difference, because we are like in indigenous medicine, we consider a more global approach of learning and also of being. Especially, it is considered that one exists in harmony or in combination or collaboration with the surrounding. So other living beings, other beings, so what is called nature, or animals like the other animals, basically. And another difference, one of the principal, I would say, in like indigenous practices in general, is to cohabit, to live in harmony, with balance, with what is surrounding us. So as other living beings, other creatures, and respectfully in this whole environment. And it is what is also that the same approach when it comes to healing us, healing our bodies, our mental and our spirit, and so on. The process is to find or to recreate balance and harmony within one person. And modern Western medicine doesn't have the same orientation. So it's also something to have in mind. Like in indigenous medicine, we often seek and speak of healing, whereas in modern Western medicine, it is often talked about treating a disease or symptoms, meaning the root reason of why all of these imbalanced phenomena are happening is not necessarily sought or not necessarily solved. And the individual, even though what I'm going to say is please take it very carefully, because it's changing more and more, and it's very good. More and more, even in modern Western medicine, patients, like people, are also approached in their globality. So not only one symptom or one disease, but how everything is interconnected, and how having one disease suffering in one place of the body can affect the whole body and even the mental health and so on. So it's becoming more and more popular, but it's not, I would say, it's not the basic standard, and it's not necessarily the basic treatment that you're going to get depending on where you are, which hospital, where you are located, and also how much you can afford, because we know that may be also another difference. Like, in Western modern medicine is somewhat connected to capitalism and to the pharmaceutical industry. So it's also about money, I mean, I think we all have had to go at least once to the hospital or to the doctor, and we know that somehow we need to pay for it. Either we have an insurance, or we receive like state insurance, or we are like we can benefit from, I don't know, an NGO health program, or but somehow there is like money involved. And if you need to pay it from your own pocket, well, you know that, well, it's expensive, right? And you need to be able to afford it like across your life. And when you are so taking care of other people, children or parents or relatives, you may also have to pay for them. Like you need to pay for like seeing the doctor, but also paying for the medications. And if there is like research imagery to do, you also need to pay for that, and so on. Well, I think everyone is familiar with how it works. So there's also money, and depending on how much you can afford, well, the treatment is not going to be the same. So this is also a main difference that we cannot neglect. I think it's very, very important to consider that, because across the globe, even when you live, when like I also live like in a Western country, but not everyone where I live, or not everyone in all the Western country, even the wealthiest one, can afford to get medical care, like appropriate care. So this is also something to consider. Another main difference that I also see is the empowerment of patients, empowerment of the people that are sick. Basically, like indigenous knowledge system, it's not only about seeing like a doctor or health practitioners or healer, how you want to call this person. But it's mainly about creating a balance. So each of us, we are responsible for creating and maintaining this balance, this harmony within ourselves, with our surrounding. And for that, there are different practices. By practices, I don't mean necessarily things that are like hoo-hoo, or I don't know. It can just be basic practices like the way you eat, how much you eat, the quantity that you eat, maybe observing some periods where you're supposed to eat less or not eat. It can also be just movement. I'm thinking of dancing, for instance. We know that dancing has been part across the globe of different practices, and it helps to maintain like many things in ourselves. Or singing, or it can be gardening, like the connection with what we call nature, the connection with other living beings, with plants, with animals, living in harmony with plants. Like all of these things have been part of like indigenous knowledge system, and even though they may not have been labeled labeled as healing practices, or they may not have a concrete name, they are part of the healing process, like the maintenance of the balance. And everyone, like living according to those principles, is responsible, has its own responsibility to have this practice in their lives, like as daily habits or as routines, or ceremonials, and so on. And what we see is it's not necessarily the case when you look at how modern societies, how modern Western societies approach health in general, and the responsibility that one is supposed to have towards that. I mean by that, how much do we in general get to learn about our body, our system, how our body functions, how our nervous system functions and how to regulate it, or what does it mean actually to have a regulated or dysregulated nervous system, and yeah, how our I don't know, our blood system is functioning. Like, these are not necessarily taught to everybody, like, I mean, at the basic level in basic education. Just as you learn to write and read, we don't all, I would say even most of us, don't learn it at school from the basic age, how the body is functioning and what we can do to, like, at least maintain the balance or improve it. And this is also a form of disempowerment, I would say. And it's one of the main difference. And I strongly believe that not only in health, but in our lives in general, we need, like, to be and feel more empowered. When we have access to more knowledge, then we get to do choices, like, in better accordance to our values, to what we believe in. And I think it's very important when it comes to health, when it comes to healing, to understand what we are talking about, what healing means, what are the different modalities that you can find in indigenous or ancient knowledge system, and what are the other modalities that you can find in modern Western systems. Because as I said, I've been trained in both systems, and for me, they are not against each other. They are here to work together, actually. And when I get to, like, to have both of them work together, even for myself, I can really see the benefits. And I really wish that, I hope that we will reach a place where the way we approach health in general is more collaborative, that health professionals get to collaborate more together on eye-to-eye level. And so this could benefit really, like, to all of us. I hope this video has been clear enough. I try to explain somewhat the differences. If you still have questions, comments, please share them in the comment below. Well, you know, we are a new channel, so please don't hesitate to comment, to like, to share, and to follow us, and ask questions. If there are topics that you want to be discussed, please feel free to send them. Yes, I will definitely come back on those differences, maybe more in details, talking more about modern medicine, ancient medicine, or indigenous medicine in the coming videos. So, yes, let's take care of each other and hope to see you soon. Bye.